bailouts. Obama added almost $16,000 in debt for every American. How will my kids pay that off when they can't even find jobs? Now Obama wants more spending and taxes. That won't fix things. I had so many hopes. Cutting taxes and debt and creating jobs. That's the change we need. Tell President Obama to cut the job-killing debt and support the New Majority Agenda at newmajorityagenda.org.
Is the economy getting you down? Are you looking for something to keep the kids busy while you wait in that long unemployment line? Wacko Toys, makers of the Alvin Green for Senator action figure and the Lindsey Graham boomerang, present their newest innovation. It's the Pete Stark Pet Rock.
All right, kids. Check out what's new from Wacko Toys.
Oh, come on, Dad.
Man, this thing is heavy.
That's right. Your Pete Stark Pet Rock comes weighted down with decades of backwards socialist ideas and is cryogenically thickened to the exact mass of your favorite Democratic demagogue's skull. You'll have loads of fun as you sit your Pete Stark Pet Rock in a quiet corner and wait for the next 38 years as it grows dustier and denser with every passing election cycle. Plus, if you act in the next 22 and a half seconds, we'll even throw in the Pete Stark Smartass Answer Pack. The next time some concerned and informed constituent asks you a pesky question about border security or just what the limits of the federal government are, just whip out your pre-marked and indexed smartass answer cards to send back zingers like,
our borders are quite secure, thank you.
And
The federal government, yes, can do most anything in this country.
yes, indeed. And as an added bonus, if your smartass answer pack doesn't send those contentious questioners scurrying for cover, your Pete Stark Pet Rock is dense enough to be considered a deadly weapon throughout the European Union, North Korea, the People's Republic of China, and the state of California. So be the first person on your block to get the Pete Stark Pet Rock.
Come on, kids. Let's try it out.
So what? It just sits there?
Mommy, Daddy forgot to take his medicine.
Warning, since there are no limits to how far a Pete Stark Pet Rock will go, please make sure you are not in a glass house when throwing one. Wacko Toys not responsible for any physical injury resulting from responses to the Smartass Answer Pack. Used only in public under careful supervision and protection by United States Secret Service agents.
Welcome back into the Palmetto Conservative Show. I'm your host, Jim Lee. For those of you that are South Carolinians or who follow election politics with any sort of, and by election politics I mean problems with the election, supposed fraud, abuse, so on and so forth, you may be aware of some problems we had here in South Carolina, in one county in particular, Richland County, here in the Midlands of South Carolina, where there were an awful lot of difficulties and problems on Election Day. Now, there's been an awful lot printed, electronically anyway, about what happened, and it just brings out visions of ineptitude across so many different levels. But lest I just go on a rail, what I'd like to do for a moment is spend a little time offering some perspective that I hope is both thought-provoking and informative while making a rather sharp point. In Richland County, on Election Day, they experienced problems with long lines at the polls, supposedly too few voting machines at the polls, problems with absentee ballots, problems with equipment, inability to get support, inability to produce the results in a timely manner, problems supposedly with the accountability or the chain of custody of ballots, as some of them magically appeared. And by magically appeared, I'm talking about paper ballots, not electronic ballots. And the list goes on and on and on. And there is a meaningful explanation for each and every one of those things. And I could go into a detailed and technical explanation that could take me several hours, but I'd rather cut to the chase and go to the root cause. And the root cause is simply this: ineptitude. In Richland County, in 2011, a decision was made to combine the two county boards that have anything to do with elections, one being the County Voter Registration Board and the other being the County Elections Board, into one combined board, something that's been done in many counties across South Carolina, as it is deemed to be, one, both more efficient, but two, the fact that they're so closely related, there was really never a reason for them to be separate. But the Voter Registration Board was responsible for oversight of the county's voter registration, voter rolls, whereas the County Election Commission was responsible for the conduct of elections, actually putting on the elections. The two are related because, of course, voters who are not registered are not allowed to vote in elections. So, natural point of intersection and inflection there. But anyway, in 2011, a decision was made to combine those two boards, and the governor of the state of South Carolina signed into law, because of the convoluted way in which South Carolina government runs. Even though this is an issue that is exclusive to one particular county, it doesn't span multiple county borders or anything. Because it's one county, it should be able to be taken care of by the county. But for some reason, the state legislature had to get involved, passed a law combining the two boards. The governor signed it into law and turned the responsibility over to the county legislative delegation to pick the new director of the newly combined board, as well as appoint the first commissioners to the combined board. This is where things started to go wrong. And in my view, this is where the root cause of the problem is. A group of people in the county delegation whose sole experience in elections is as a candidate in an election, most of whom have no practical, real-world understanding of the system of elections, the system of voter registration, data management, process management, standards and procedures, business controls, and all the other things that go into creating good process and good systems to fulfill a particular mission, in this case, voter registration and elections. Selected as their director someone whose qualifications may have looked good on paper, but based on the outcome of this election, probably was not qualified for the job. Rather than appointing a commission who is to be accountable for the conduct of that particular commission, and making them accountable for hiring and doing the due diligence to hire the right people with the right skills, the delegation made that decision. And that decision was made, in my opinion, in such a way as to reflect a patronage appointment. A patronage appointment that came with a salary of initially $85,000 a year, since raised to a little over $86,000. to someone who had absolutely zero expertise when it comes to managing, maintaining, and operating an electronic voting system. As a result, problems elicited themselves on Election Day, in that the Commission did not dispense enough machines to the polls on Election Day, so there were exceptionally long lines. Now, anyone who bothered to go to the polls and get in line was entitled to vote, so no one was disenfranchised in that regard. However, those who went to the polls and got tired of waiting and left, one could argue that they were disenfranchised. We have far too long allowed the public sector to be treated as a patronage pool where individuals go to work who are otherwise unqualified or may not have the proper skills to properly do the job, and then never held accountable. In this case, the question was raised, who has the authority to dismiss this person? Is it the County Election Commission? Is it the county legislative delegation? Who has the authority to do this? Fortunately, the Attorney General came down with what I believe is the right opinion, and that was to leave it in the hands of the commission that was established for that very reason, to oversee and operate the Richland County Board of Elections and voter registration. But I say all this piggybacking on the previous story about Medicare fraud, that we have placed trust in our government to do big things, and yet we've never really held them accountable to the level that we should, such that things like this Medicare and Medicaid fraud detection, fraud prevention system, and where this hiring of someone unqualified to run an organization, didn't have the skills and abilities to do so, is acceptable. It's time that we stopped accepting this nonsense and rather take control of our government once more. That's my view. I'm going to take a quick little interlude here. Enjoy the music. We'll be back on the other side. You're listening to the Palmetto Conservative Show here on the CB Media Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.